experience like Herb. Be knocking songs out in 15 minutes sometimes.
What's good, YouTube? It's your boy SKY Jordan. In today's video, I'm talking to another multi-platinum engineer, right? He has Polo G credits, DJ Khaled credits for the God Did album with Nardo Wick and Kodak Black. And you can't forget GHerbo because he's everywhere, right? I'm going to show up some of the credits on the screen. But now we're finna have a conversation with him, so let's get into it. I'm sitting here with Mixed by White, all right? Can you tell us who you are, some of your credits, you know, because I seen one of the most recent ones on Genius, man, and that shit crazy. You on the Khaled project shit, that shit crazy.
Hell yeah. Yeah, blessed to be on that. That shit couldn't even explain how it happened, but it happened. Yeah, but I'm Nick. Shit, I've been engineering for probably like 7 years now. I'm from Fresno, California. It's not small, but it's considered kind of like a small town just because, I mean, you in between like the Bay Area and then LA. So it'd be cool because you can like go to the Bay, it's like 3 hours, LA, 3 hours, but kind of like in the middle of nowhere at the same time.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, I mean, I started engineering. My boys rapped and shit, so I was trying to figure out like, damn, how can I make this shit sound better? So that's kind of like the first like introduction to it. I started watching a lot of like videos and shit, kind of like more self-taught, a lot of experience, to the point to where really every day, like literally locked in on it every day, at least 4 hours, a lot of times close to 8, 12.
Yeah.
I was working, so like 9 to 5. Well, it wasn't like 9 to 5 because I worked at Enterprise, so it's like 6-hour shifts. But
yeah,
before work, mixing, recording, after work, mixing, recording. So a lot of like the shit I learned just experience, but I knew that like needed to get out of Fresno if I wanted to do more. So eventually moved down to LA, moved into a 2-bedroom with like 5 people, just thugged it out, kind of like knew how to do something, do whatever it took to really get out there because it's expensive as shit in LA.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then I ended up going to the Los Angeles Recording School. That shit was cool. It would have been better because I went there because in school it was supposed to be like in-person school.
Yeah.
But a week into it, COVID hit, so
it was
lockdown. Ended up the whole school on Zoom, which it sucked at first because it was like, damn, it's the whole reason why I'm doing school was to be in person and like connect, collaborate and shit.
Yeah.
And take that and go intern in the studio, kind of build my way up, make connections, meet people. But with the lockdown, that kind of changed the whole plan, but it worked out for the better because a few months into the lockdown, I found like a studio I started interning at called the Neighborhood Watch.
Okay.
Shout out them. Shit, a lot of this shit wouldn't even be possible without them. But yeah, I interned there for probably like not even a month. Then like a month being there, I started just picking up my own clientele. And ended up being able to quit Enterprise. I was about to start at Amazon right around that same time, but I ended up like my background check because COVID, all like the background check process was fucked up, so shit was taking too long, and I ended up missing the being able to like start like the orientation and shit because they wouldn't let me start. But during that same time, I ended up transitioning to engineering full time, so it all kind of like worked out. Like,
see,
God
like
doing it work.
See, like this right here, dope, though, because like a lot of people just automatically think like you gotta go to school, you gotta do this. Like, if you can't dedicate your all to engineering, you're not gonna make it. But like you're proof that it's like you can work, still chase your dream on what you want to do. You know what I'm saying? And shit'll work out eventually. Like if you're really putting in the time with it and like dedicated to the shit.
Yeah, no, facts. It's like you just gotta make the time, find the time.
Yeah.
If you want it, you're gonna do it. Period. You're gonna go get it.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I was kind of on that, and then so yeah, I mean, once I started like engineering full time, I mean, that was like really not even 2 years ago. So I've been doing it full time for 2 years, and then not even really in the first month, I ended up getting a session. I record GHerbo.
Yeah,
And
I seen you got a lot of herbo shit. For real, for
you
real.
know, yeah. Well, come full circle. Now I'm his personal engineer,
Yeah,
which is
that's
crazy.
crazy. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
2 years down the road. Yeah. Yeah, it's just really a lot of the opportunities came just from being available, being like last minute. Because a lot of this shit, like when you school, nah, just all the time, last minute. Like they'll call you, hey,
Oh yeah.
yo, we come do a session. Woo, 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 bam. And again, there, find out who it is. Like, damn, glad I picked up that call.
Yeah,
And
bro.
yeah,
I remember,
that's
bro.
really the
I remember having to get up at 4 in the morning, bro. That fucking phone ring. They'd be like, "Such and such a
best.
studio. We need you to come through." Like, fuck, gotta go.
Mhm. But see, but doing that shit, that's like what help you build good relationships with
Oh
people.
yeah.
Cause like being able to like me taking like calls like that and always being like on go for like sessions like out of nowhere
Mm,
if I'm available, that helped me build relationships with like producers, studio owners.
mm.
People don't think about it, but like it's cool to be cool with the artist, but if you're cool with the studio owner, you always gonna have work.
Oh yeah, for
Like
sure.
they always gonna be plugging you, and then that's the best way to kind of get your name out and really collaborate with more artists, and all that.
Yeah,
Um,
because being an engineer, man, you gotta have that good experience, customer service type shit, where people be like, you know what, if you might fuck up here and there, but they'll be like, you know what, I fuck with them. So you know what I'm saying, whatever
yeah.
like that. So because I done seen a lot of people get kicked out of sessions and shit, and like some of them
Hmm.
people never bounce back. Like I remember at the studio we had an intern. He was talking a lot of shit. Like he was fired this, doing that. Bruh didn't last 5 minutes.
Yeah, see, it's like, yeah, you could be nice, you could be nice with everything on engineering wise, but if you ain't
Yeah,
even cool people, then it's over because you're gonna fuck up the vibe. It's like really the vibe, the most important thing when you're in the studio with the artist.
oh yeah, for
You got to
sure.
be able to just like read cues. It's like not everything has to be said. You just got to read the room energy.
Hmm.
So I feel like that's one of like my biggest strongs. Like I feel like I'm real good at like reading the room and reading the energy. So
Yeah,
I'm good at making the artist feel comfortable. Um, Try to figure out what they want, what they're looking for without asking.
yeah,
If I do gotta ask, it's like real simple questions to where it don't mess up their train of thought. But
mm,
I'm always trying to be a step ahead and thinking ahead of what the artist asks to where they don't even need to ask. And I feel like that's played a big part in why I'm allowed to keep on getting into these rooms and working with these bigger and bigger artists.
yeah. So what would you
I mean,
say? What would you say is the difference between working with signed artists and unsigned artists?
uh, the biggest thing that I've noticed so far is depending on the unsigned artists, more unsigned artists are still kind of like learning. They're finding themselves,
Mm,
learning their sound. They don't necessarily know what they want yet.
yeah,
So it's more you have more like creative control with them, helping them find different things and explore like boundaries.
yeah,
Um, One on the payment side, it's nice working on site artists because you usually get paid that same day
yeah,
or upfront before the session. Then on like the signed artists, like a lot of times they know what they want.
yeah,
Um, you're playing more like your role in the situation because they have teams built. So
yeah,
like if I'm the recording artist, my main goal is to get a good performance, good levels, just capture all the energy from the artist, and then have everything set ready because the next stage, if I'm not gonna be mixing, it's gonna go to a mixing engineer,
yeah,
and then from there, the mastering engineer, and then everything else. So it's more like a teamwork playing your role. Whereas unsigned artists, you might be playing all the roles. Like not,
yeah,
probably like 8 times out of 10 when you're working with unsigned artists, after you record it, that's probably gonna be like the copy that goes out. Like they might
yeah,
not go and get it mixed, get it mastered. They might
yeah,
just use your rough mix if it's good enough, I guess.
yeah. Like a lot of artists don't understand the fact that it's different stages. What you just talked about too, because I remember having a
Hmm.
conversation with like up and coming artist in my Discord. He was going to the studio, paying for studio time, and he was wondering why his rough mix didn't sound mixed. I was like, you're paying for tracking when you go to the studio. You're not paying for the mix in the studio. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Hmm.
different levels. And that's gonna lead me to the next question because that's why a lot of people is putting the emphasis on like presets and templates because they're like, oh, they're not recording presets, they're not recording templates, they're mixing and mastering templates. So what are your thoughts on like the vocal presets? Because I know you worked with like Polo G, Herbo,
Mhm.
you know what I mean, shit like that. So it's like vocal presets and templates. Like, what's your thoughts on those?
I mean, they could be good as like starting points. They might, I think they might be cool, like to hear what they do and then kind of like break down and tweak. But I don't think that you could just put a preset on and leave it and think that you're gonna be good to go. You're gonna have to do some type of tweaking. You're gonna adjust. Really, gonna have to really know what you're going for.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's a big thing too. I feel like with experienced engineers, it's like during the early years, I was just experimenting a lot. I didn't really know what I was going for. Versus like as my years have gotten more trained and I've learned more, it's like I do stuff with like intention. So if I'm gonna use an effect, like I'm using it for a specific reason. If I hear it and I like something about it, I'm gonna figure out what parameter in that plugin or preset that I like and readjust and figure out what I can use from it and what I don't want to use from it. For like templates and stuff,
Yeah.
I think I mean I think it's best to kind of like build your own template. If you want to use someone else's template, figure out like what's going on with it. But I think like the benefits of a template is speed and knowing how things are set up, routed. If
Yeah.
you do have plugins already ready, know what plugins are on there and what the purpose form is. Because that way, when you're working with different vocals, not one like setting or preset's going to work for every vocal.
Yeah.
So you got to know what plugins are doing what so that you can quickly identify how to readjust those plugins and make them fit the vocal that you're working with
Yeah.
and mic or room setting. So for like recording templates, I'll have a recording template, but I'm always updating it.
Yeah.
Um, every time I work with the artist, I'll always make a template for them. So like I'll have like a base template that I like that's like just everything that I'm used to visually, so I could be quick, know where stuff is.
Yeah.
But then like after the first song, after like I start dialing in stuff, I'll make a template from that.
Yeah.
That way for every song after that, I could just kind of build off that. And I'll have like a good starting point for how their voice is sounding that day, how the room sounds. It's not going to be perfect for the next song, but at least I'm already 80% there.
Yeah.
So it's less tweaking, and more just adjusting to the new beat, their new tone they might be using in that song, whatever the case. For mixing templates kind of more bare. Um, I'll just have more just like my routing and I'll have my effects on the template.
Yeah.
But as far as like plugins and stuff, on the processing like side for like vocals and stuff, I tend to keep that just empty. That way I can just start with like a fresh slate when I'm getting ready to mix because it's like a different like thought process and more creativity and like more time put into it. So you're not really on a time limit. You can kind of take your time with things.
Yeah.
Whereas recording, you got to be quick.
Yeah, for sure. Like recording, you got to be quick. You got to be able to work with the artists because especially like everybody's punching in nowadays, you know, or playlisting, vocal comping, whatever. You got to be a fast to record. But like a lot of people think mixing is supposed to be done in like 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours. Sometimes it might take 4 hours to mix a song, you know, or it might take a day or two. You might need to rest your ears. But like, I think like a lot of people now are in the stage or whatever rushing because they're like, oh, I can record it today, I can mix it today, and put it out the same day. You know,
it's like you could do that, but I mean, it just all depends on
the quality,
how much you care about the quality of your work. I mean, I guess if you got everything ready like that set up, it's possible.
Yeah. Yeah, like
Because
I feel like it can be possible, but I'm saying like in some instances, like a lot of people rush through the recording part and won't have clean takes, or they might mess up here, they might mess up there. The punches might not be clean. They didn't do the crossfades right, and then you're mixing something, and then you're throwing like a L2 on the master fader saying it's mastered, and it's like you putting it out, you know. So it's a lot of shit like that. But like, see, this is gonna lead me to the next one. It's like is there a cheat code or a step by step method to having an industry standard mix? Because that's what a lot of unsigned artists, engineers are actually trying to do, because they think, because let's say like they want to have a song that sounds like a Herbo song, or they want to have a Polo G song quality at home, but I don't necessarily know what they mean when they want the industry quality, because overall it's like, for one to have an industry quality, it's like it's got to be a good song anyway. It's got to be a good
Yeah.
song. Like the
It's like
artist
the
is
song
already
first.
signed. Yeah, like the artist is already signed. You know, like and they're working
Mhm.
in studios. They're not over mixing the song. Like the engineers they're working with aren't over mixing. So like,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on like a cheat code or like a step by step for like an industry standard mix or something?
Shit. I mean, there ain't really a cheat code. I guess the closest thing I can say is the best equipment. I mean, if you want like close to the industry sound, go find you a good studio, professional studio that's got good equipment. So you're looking for good mic, I mean, right now, like the most popular mic's a Sony. So you find like a studio with like a Sony C800, a good preamp, like a Need 1073,
Mm-hmm.
going into compressor like the CO1B 1176,
Mm-hmm.
LA2A, any of those are all good. And then like a good treated room, good treated booth. I mean, that's gonna get you as close as possible because I mean, a good mix can't come from a bad recording. So the most
Yeah.
important thing to me is the recording
Yeah. 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 Like I
because
stress that a lot on my channel for like the recording
mhm,
aspect.
yeah, the recording is the most important. I mean, but you can get a great recording in a home studio too. So like,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong. And a lot of it too is like vocal control. Like people don't know how to control their voice. So like the big difference between a newer artist and an experienced artist is an experienced artist has put so many like reps in. They've recorded so many songs. They've been doing it for multiple years, a lot of times 10 plus years. So I mean, they mastered their voice. They mastered the
Yeah.
art of recording. So that's like a big thing right there is vocal control because vocal control plays a big part in how like the mic picks up your voice.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And that's a big thing I noticed like when I'm like mixing is artists that have good vocal control versus artists that don't. And a lot of times it's the less experienced artists that have not as good at vocal control.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that's something. Cause I was going through listening to the songs you got the credits for, and I was like, yeah, all these shits is recorded well. Everything sound good. The artists are pretty much established in like their sound and they're confident, right?
yeah,
And then I went through like Instagram and I was like listening to like I think it was a couple of unsigned artists on there, and they was even sounding like fire too. So it's like it's not necessarily like from my point of view, it's not necessarily like the industry artists get like a special treatment compared to unsigned artists. It's just the fact that the unsigned artists that tend to make it are the ones that take it very seriously, right? They're the ones
mm,
that are record. They're not gonna try to rush the song in an hour. Like if it's gonna take them 2 hours to get this shit down, they're gonna take the full 2 hours to do it. You know.
exactly. It's
So
like whatever's gonna be the best,
yeah,
like quality over everything. And then once you get to the speed to where you can knock it out quick, I mean, you're there. But I mean, it takes time to get to that point.
yeah, like what they say, like the 10 hour, 10,000 hour rule or
10,000,
something like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
10,000. It's about 10 years. So it's like,
All right.
because like
So.
I worked with artists that shit, for instance, like her,
Mhm.
be knocking songs out in 15 minutes sometimes, like run through a whole song crazy. And it's like, and I worked with artists that they take a whole session to record the whole song, but the song will still come out fire. I mean, they took their time, but I mean, it's just different processes, but
Yeah.
it just all depend on them. I mean, also a lot of times it just depend on really the beat.
Oh yeah.
Usually, if they really feeling the beat, the words and stuff come to them immediately. Versus that's another thing too. It's like experienced artists, they're not going to sit there and force something on a beat.
Oh yeah.
And they know what beats to go on, what stuff they actually like hear themselves on, and like their heart's telling them is like, yeah, I actually got some shit for this. Versus like an inexperienced artist might try to be forcing stuff. It's like if the artist like an experienced artist, if they ain't feeling it, they just gonna leave it alone, move on to something different.
Oh yeah.
Cause you're trying to force something, you get frustrated, and it's gonna fuck with the vibe for the rest of the session.
Yeah, and it's not gonna be authentic or some shit like that. It's gonna be forced in
Yeah.
or shit like that. But let me see. Could you tell me how much would you charge? Like, how much do you charge unsigned artists for like mixes? Because I'm pretty sure like people will want to know that too.
Yeah. Right now I'm doing 250 for like a 2 track and then 300 for the stems. Um, I prefer to do stems so I don't charge too much more just because the overall mix comes out a lot better when you have like the full track outs for the beat
Yeah.
versus just the MP3 for the beat.
Like,
Um,
could you explain the differences for some people? Because it's gonna be some people that don't understand the difference between mixing to an MP3, mixing to a wave, and mixing with stems.
so I mean like big difference is like when you're mixing with the MP3, the MP3 is already mixed by the producer, however it is. A lot of times, depending on the experience of the producer, a lot of times the producer is mixing that without vocals, so they don't really know where to leave room for the vocals. So when you record onto MP3, you have to fit the vocal into the beat, which there might not be room for it. So things are gonna things are gonna collide and clash, or you might have to cut important parts of the vocal out to make it fit into the beat. So it gives you like less room to work with. On top of if the beat isn't mixed well, you're gonna run into problems like you might not be able to push the beat as hard on the mastering side. Uh, well, push the whole song as loud on the mastering side, or um, just a bunch of like the snare might be too loud, be obnoxious. There might be just certain stuff that's just uh, like just out of your control, like that
Yeah.
you just don't like. Whereas like the wave's a little bit better because at least on like the mastering end, when you do master it, you can get like a cleaner master. You have like more room to push it versus like the MP3 is already compressed. But still, depending on the mix of it, it's not as much room to do stuff, but at least you'll get a higher quality master. Whereas like on the track out, you have room to do everything. Whereas if your vocals are like the main point of the song, like you
Yeah.
can mix everything else around the vocals. You can adjust stuff how you see fit. You have more control to like, because I like to play around with like arrangement and stuff,
Yeah.
do beat drops, like little shit like that. So might be able to do a section where I take the drums out but keep the melody. Whereas if you just have the MP3, your only option is to cut the beat or filter it. Or
Yeah.
you can do like little shit like you can like go find a kick and place it, but it's not the same as if you have the track outs. You have a lot more control to do stuff. As far as like you can mix that around the vocals.
Cause that's pretty much how you
Based
get
on the
the
vocals.
vocals to sit in the mix, quote unquote, what everybody wants to say. Because it's like you
Yeah.
be able to pan. Let's say you got what like a lead, a counter, melody, or some shit. You can pan those out a little bit to make it wider. The vocals sit there. The 808s, you can split those into mono or whatever
Mm-hmm.
like that. Now the vocals sit directly on top of your drums, which is in the middle. You can pan the hi hats, and now your vocals just sit in the middle. Like because
But you
I
can
try
literally
to
do
explain that to people. I'm like, yo, like the difference is like people are mixing to track outs. Like you need the stems. Like the
hmm
stems gives you too much creative control. Like I've heard beats to where I'm like, okay, the beat is hard, but then the hook they'll throw some weird sound in there that fucks it up.
well, that's YouTube for you right there.
Like it'll fuck it up. But if I get the stems, guess what I can do? I can take that shit out. Be like, get that
hmm
shit out of
But
there.
but gone, change the whole song.
Yeah, like shit like that's interesting. Yeah. So I'm trying to get more people comfortable with like trying to get the stems from producers and working with it like that. But because a lot of people they're looking for like how to get the vocals to sit in the mix. I'm like, it's kind of hard to make it sit in the mix if you don't have the stems.
Yeah,
So
it's like stems is damn near essential when mixing. Really, like a lot of like of the top mixing engineers, they won't even accept mixes if you don't have the stems.
that's like nah. Yeah, I can see it.
Because I mean, it's a reflection of their work. I mean, a lot of times, like an average listener, they don't know the difference of, oh, he just mixed a 2 track with the vocals. They listen to the whole song. So if the beat isn't mixed good, it's a reflection of the mixing engineer, even if the mixing engineer had no control of it.
Yeah,
So
cause I know like from hearing stories out here in Atlanta, it's like when Weezy and them or like Southside and them send the beats over for like future projects and shit like that. They send the stems. They don't even mix the beats. Like they'll just send the stems so Alex and them, whoever mixing it, they can mix
Do
everything
the thing.
together. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so that's a little cheat code right there. So like, what are like some of your favorite plugins to mix with or record with?
Shit. I mean, I use the Fat Filter, the Pro Q a lot. Well, a lot of the Fat Filter stuff, but Pro Q. Favorite compressor is probably like the R comp.
Mm-hmm.
I just know how to get the sound that I need out of it on multiple different sources. So it's quick, don't have to think a lot when I'm using it. I like the SSL channel, the Waves one, and the UAD. I'll use the Waves when I'm tracking. I use the UAD when I'm mixing,
Mm-hmm.
just for delay compensation. If you don't know, UAD plugins have a lot of like delay compensation, so you don't really want to use them when you're recording because it's gonna add like latency to the session, and
Mm-hmm.
then the artist isn't really gonna be able to record properly. You're gonna end up having to deactivate it. C4, use C4 just about 90% of mixes. The Pool Tech, the EQ P1A, Reverb, it's like the Valhalla,
Mm-hmm.
Arverb, Seventh Heaven. I mean, kind of play around a lot. Just kind of, I'll use a reverb or use something a lot, and then once I feel like I'm using it too much, I'll try something different. Just get a
Yeah.
different sound, something different for the ears. But I mean, those kind of like the main things. I've been using Jason Joshua's new plugin, the God Particle, a lot. That
Oh
shit
yeah.
sounds crazy on your stereo bus.
Oh
You
yeah.
just Yeah, that shit right there is a game changer. So if you don't got that and you don't really know too much about mastering, that's like a good that'll get you like a good starting point.
Oh yeah.
Um, that'll get you damn near 90% of the way there.
Yeah, cause that
At
shit
least
just sounds
kind of
different. Like as soon as you turn that shit on, like it just makes shit.
everything hit hard.
Like I
Especially
can't really
like
explain it. Like that shit crazy.
mm-hmm. And it's like and it's coming from one of the best in the game. So it's like, it's credible and he uses it on every one of his mixes. So yeah.
Yeah. Let's
That's
see. But look, what some advice do you have for like an upcoming artist right now that's trying to like be able to like get in the industry? Because I know you're working with Herbo, like you're his personal engineer, and you're working with a lot of other artists and shit. So it's like what tips would you have for them on like how to like break into the industry type shit?
for artists,
Yeah.
consistency. Like first thing you need to do is get your craft. Like work on your craft and have your craft like top tier. You gotta push your music, post every day if you can, do
Mm-hmm.
videos. I think a big thing, find an engineer because I mean, you might think you could do it on your own, but you got to build a team. It's like an engineer is gonna
Yeah.
help you get an established sound. They're gonna take a lot of weight off your shoulder, and like all you're gonna have to do is just worry about recording and worrying about your craft. You're not gonna have to worry about all the technical shit.
Yeah.
On top of that, find your producer because the producer is gonna help you push boundaries.
Like you were saying, like the team shit is very important because like a lot of people don't really know how to work as a team unit these days, you know.
Mhm.
So it's like that's probably what's holding a lot of artists back. Like with TikTok content, like you gotta be quick,
Mhm.
man. Waves come and go fast, for real, for real.
Yeah,
And
and it's like yeah, TikTok's great too. The one thing I don't know about TikTok yet is
mm,
I don't know about like the sustainability of TikTok yet for like TikTok artists. It's kind of
yeah,
hard to see like how long they're gonna last in the industry.
because the biggest one so far is Yeet, and that's the king of like TikTok artists because like he
Mhm.
blew up so fucking fast on TikTok and been
Right.
going crazy ever
Like a
since.
different level. Yeah. Yeah. And shit, nah. His shit is crazy too though.
Yeah,
His shit
see,
hard.
and like his story is what got a lot of people hooked on like the preset shit because like the
Hmm.
story behind him is like he got a preset or some shit that one of his friends got from an engineer in the studio, and that's what helped him get to where he at now. But like a lot of people didn't realize like Yeet was already making fire shit. It just didn't sound right. You know what I'm saying? Then he fucked around
Yeah,
and got
that
like
right
a
mix on there.
like he got like a better mix and went fucking crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like in that case, it's like his situation will be different from like a lot of other people because like he was dropping the music, he had people fucking with the music already, and then like he got a preset, and I guess he got a little bit better at making music because he was already making music. You know what I'm saying? Like what we were
Yeah.
talking about earlier, because he was already doing it, and then he went viral, and shit been up ever since. So like, all that shit's interesting.
Another thing too, I don't think people think about is like he's talented enough. Like he got a preset, but he can hear how he sound on the preset and adjust his voice
Mm-hmm.
to where it hit the settings on the preset
Oh
how it's
yeah,
supposed to hit it. Like
yeah.
he can probably hear like, okay, this ain't sounding right. Let me readjust to where he don't really got to think too much. So like that also comes with his vocal control.
Oh
Like he
yeah,
know how to control his voice to where it hit the preset correctly. And then I'm sure that he tweaks stuff too.
yeah.
Like I doubt he just leave everything on there. I'm sure he play around with it.
Yeah, they say he do like he'll go in there like he'll fuck with the beat a little bit. He'll go in there and change
Mm,
shit around. However, he kind of hear it. Like everybody got like a ear for certain shit too. So it's
yeah.
like a lot
Like
of
I said,
people get lost in it. They be like, "Yo, if he did it like this, I'm gonna do the same thing he did, and I'm gonna have the same success." And I'm like, that shit don't really work like that.
that's another thing. You gotta stand out for like that's another thing advice for artists. Don't if like you find an A&R and you're gonna play him something, if you sound like someone else, you might as well just wait because if they able to identify you and be like, oh, you sound like this person, they not even your chances out. You need to have like a new sound, something different.
Yeah,
Like you don't want to be the one that sounds like 1,000 people. You want to be the standalone, regardless of what you're doing different. You just got
yeah.
to figure out your way to stand out. Find your own lane. Don't go follow someone else's lane.
But yeah, like a lot of people will sit there and hear that and they'll be like, but it worked for such and such and such and such and such and such. But it's like,
Yeah, that's done already though.
yeah, like it's like it's just an interesting conversation, man, because it's like I don't know, like it's always gonna be like innovation gets rewarded at some point because like if you do something unique and you can build like a following of like 1,000 fans, that 1,000 fans will slowly turn into 10,000 and 20,000 because it's like if you're doing something different, people are always looking for the next thing, you know. So
Hmm.
it's like even if it's like mixing, like it's always gonna be an engineer that comes along and does some wild shit that'll break all the quote unquote standard rules, and
And
people will
then
be trying to do that shit, and it's like that's the new sound.
standard. Yeah.
Yeah. So like that shit,
Yeah.
that shit crazy, man. Like all that shit just crazy overall. But I appreciate you, man, taking the time out to talk to
Oh
us
yeah.
on the channel, man. I'm gonna have all his links in the description for everybody to go check him out. So if you want to get a mix bomb, if you I don't know if you accept beats because like you already said you Herbo engineer, so they're probably gonna flood you with beats for Herbo.
Oh yeah.
So
Just yeah, well, we can figure something out.
so I mean they gonna flood you, man. Like I'm just letting you know to give you the heads up, man. But I appreciate you taking the time out,
Yeah,
man.
thank you for having me on here.
I appreciate you watching this video. Make sure you like, comment, share the videos, all right? And comment some more engineers that you want to see me get on the channel because I'm trying to bridge the gap between the industry and YouTube and the upcoming artists, engineer, everybody. I just want to be able to put the game out there so people can take what they need. But listen, make sure you like, comment, subscribe to the channel. It's your boy SKY Jordan. I'm out of here. All right, cool.